not sponsored, but I'm open. So this was a really fun interview. I interviewed her last weekend, and I wanted to get some breathing room with my previous podcast with Dr. DeWolf. And so I held off, and now I'm really excited to bring Debra Goldstein to your earwaves and your eye waves and whatever waves you're listening on. She is an author, former judge, former litigator, who has an adorable story about how she met her husband when she went down south and has not come back north since. She also writes a really fun series with the protagonist is Sarah Blair. Hopefully we'll see more of those. We talk rescue dogs, rescue animals, just so much stuff. And so before we get into that, as always, we were going to talk about things that I'm obsessed with. I wrote it down this time because I was like, I don't want to forget. But yesterday, it was my dad's 70th birthday. Happy birthday, Rob Aslam, the commander. So I treated myself with a good day. I went to the I wrote it down, the S Beauty Head Spa, I think it's called. See, I wrote it, S Beauty Head Spa in Braintree, and got a full hour head, scalp, neck, shoulders, hands massage, and also they wash your hair. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see my hair looks actually pretty healthy, which is something I'm not used to saying. So I highly recommend if you're on the fence about trying one, if you're not like a massage person. I get migraines, and so anytime I can get a little scalp massage, head massage, kind of eases some of that tension. I enjoyed it, and May was fantastic. Everybody was so kind, and I learned how to the facial towel, because I'm a larger lady. If you put it to the back, then your boobs don't like flop out. Like, what? That was something I didn't know, and now I think it's the best idea ever. Also, things that I'm obsessed with, I found another new bookstore. I was heading down to Norwood to go to the Bougie bookstore, which is located within the Unknown Marketplace in Norwood at the Winsmith Markets, an old mill building that they've converted to like antiques and home decor and just all sorts of stuff. I ended up finding they opened a new bookstore in there, and the woman could not have been nicer. It's called Books and Bulldogs, after she has, I think she has a Frenchie. But it was really cute. It's on the front of the building, so it had a lot of natural light. I got new stickers for my laptop, which you'll see if you follow me on socials. This is the old laptop stickers. The best thing I ever found is these covers that you could, oh, look how dusty it is. The covers for your MacBook, so you can put all your stickers on it. And I'm going to try to frame this, I think, because these are all my fun stickers, like my baseball isn't boring, and, my corgis, and ask me about my book, and you saw nothing. And so for now, it's just going to be a little background, but hopefully I'll be able to get that. So I bought a lot of stickers. I did buy books. I also left a copy of my book for her. So hopefully if you're down in the Norwood area, I will be doing an event there at some point. I'm also, I'll tell you all about the events later, but Books and Bulldogs, highly recommend. Bougie Bookstore, also highly recommend. They're more romance focused, so it's not my 100% vibe, but I did get a cute bookmark out of the spines of old VHS tapes, which for those that know, people of a certain age, the Disney VHS spines are kind of like nostalgic. So I bought a Sleeping Beauty one because that's one of my favorites. What else am I obsessed with? That's probably it this week because work has been working. And oh, I know I've mentioned this before, but then the recording didn't record. So until April 1st, so if you're listening to this in the next 4 days, I am part of the Crime Writers for Trans Rights auction. I'll put the link in the bio so you can click on it and see the amazing amount of items, books, critiques, Ask Me Anything book club by some amazing authors. I'm so honored I was able to include two copies of my book signed, and also maybe an arc of book 3. So bid early, bid often, bid till the 1st. I've already put my bids in, and right now I'm the lead bidder on Sherry Harris's book, so we're going to see if I get it. fingers crossed. But yeah, in this type of world, our brothers and sisters are being attacked for who they are. And I don't understand why. It's not hard to lead with empathy. Just because I don't understand doesn't mean it's a thing. So I think if you feel like there's nothing you can do, this is something really simple, really meaningful, and can help a lot of people. And that's why I'm doing it. And today I'm wearing my Only Pride, No Prejudice shirt just because it felt like we need that. And I'm so grateful to live in Massachusetts, a place that supports its brothers and sisters and non binary folks to do all this stuff. So go and vote, vote, bid. Also, vote if you're not in New England and you need to vote, because that's how we affect change. And guys, the world is a mess. So I like to retreat into books. And this Crime Writers for Trans Rights auction has been amazing. And I'm so obsessed with all the authors who have submitted and put stuff out there. So we'll see. Hopefully it raises lots of money. I think it was at 30K or almost 30K this morning. And good job, guys. Keep bidding. But on that note, I will talk baseball when we come back. But first, let's get into the interview with Debra Goldstein. But welcome back to Baseball, Books, and Banter with me, your host, Nicole. And today's guest is Debra Goldstein. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm
Fellow
glad to be
Sisters in Crime member. And you're on the board currently of National, right?
Yes, I am.
That's right. We just had a big town hall discussion, and Debra was my breakout room leader, so it was kind of exciting. I was like, I know her. I'm going to be interviewing her. But introduce yourself to the masses of my listeners, and we'll get started.
Great. Hello, masses. I'm Judge Debra H. Goldstein, whose hair is going all over the place. Anyway,
Yeah.
I the reason I say judge, I was a federal administrative law judge for 23 years. Prior to that, I was a litigator. About a few years ago, I walked away from my judgeship to follow my passion, which is to write. I started out writing a book, Maize and Blue, which was a mystery on the University of Michigan's campus in the 70s. And that won an IPPY award, but it immediately, the publisher went out of business, so it was orphaned. It is back online, available. But then I wrote Should Have Played Poker, a Carrie Martin and the Mahjong Players mystery, which was great because that got picked up by a bigger publisher who 5 months later decided they weren't going to do mysteries anymore.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I was orphaned for the second time, except I didn't get the rights back to that for years because it kept selling.
Yeah.
So finally, I moved on because I was always told, write something different. And I'm sure other authors who've been here, from what I've heard, have said when this happens, that's what you're told. So I wrote One Taste Too Many. And if her cat shows up, this is the cat that I have for the
Rah rah.
rah rah. And One Taste Too Many, actually, I didn't put them out of business. It was Kensington.
If you
There are
put
now
Kensington
five.
out of business, then it's definitely a you problem, because that's
Well,
that's kind of a biggie.
there's now 5 books in that
Oh
series.
my gosh, that's awesome.
And the newest book, which came out just this month, is With Our Bellies Full and the Fire Dying. The reason I show it now, and we can talk later, is I write long and I write short. And so I have, I guess, 8, 9 novels now, if you count this one, but over 50 published short stories, all within the last decade.
That's amazing. I mean,
That's fun.
like, pause for applause, because that's pretty amazing. Because it is such a different skill, I think. I'm not a short story writer. I try, and I just can't. I don't know why. It's just like a hump that I have to get over. So people who can do both, I'm like, that's like one of those skills, like, they say triple threat for acting, dancing, singing. That's like a triple threat skill for authors. Authors that can edit, publish, and write short stories are like the best. And that's what the newest one is, short stories.
It's 18 of the short stories that have either been finalists for the Anthony,
Oh,
the
wow.
Agatha, or the Derringer, or have actually won awards, all compiled together. So they're older short stories, but and they range from cozy, Thanksgiving in moderation is as cozy as you can get, to So Beautiful, So What, which is a much darker story. None would have a trigger warning or anything.
Okay.
but they're
Dark,
all,
but not trigger dark.
no, they're not trigger dark.
Yeah.
I have fun because, what you said is right. One of my friends says, I go to write a short story, and when I get to 5,000 words, I realize it's 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but for me, short stories are a quick outlet when nothing else is working.
That's true. That is true. And that's why, I mean, you've been in what, Ellery Queen, and what are some of the other big ones? The
Uh,
Strand.
I've been, no, I've no, neither
No.
of those. I've been in
Oh,
Alfred Hitchcock. I've been
oh,
in Weekly. I've been in the Black Cat,
okay. Black Cat.
Black
That's
Cat
one.
Weekly. I have been in so many anthologies. Coming out in April, I'll be in two anthologies and a podcast with a
Oh,
possibility. There's a third anthology supposed to drop March 31st, but since I haven't seen the cover yet, I'm
yes.
not hoping for the best.
That's questionable. Yeah, I was looking through your website and I saw the podcast story. I think that's such a cool idea. How did that come about? So the story is opera singer blues?
Dinner opera, yes, the opera dinner. That one is Tina Wolf puts out calls for short stories, but she and Jack, they play music to the short story and read it, and they just read it. They don't stop, they don't do
Okay.
anything. And they put all the short stories, like for 6 months, in a anthology that's print. But each week there's a different podcast that drops, and mine drops April 15th, I think it is, or 18th.
Happy
Uh,
tax day, which is kind
but
of funny from a former tax lawyer. I did my research.
well, the fun of this is that she reads the story to Jack, who has not read it, and he has to
Okay.
figure out who done it.
That's cool.
And I have a secret, but I'm not supposed to tell. He didn't get it.
Oh, spoiler alert. So now you have to listen, you, the listener, have to listen to see if you can get it,
Exactly.
which is better than that guy. But that's really kind of cool. I like that idea because it's almost like an audio book, but you don't have to pay Audible, and it's kind of heightens everything,
Mhm.
and it
And
makes
his
it's like a
music makes
TV
it even
show.
more
I was just
mysterious.
gonna say, it's like you watch all these TV shows, and it's the same thing because let's be honest, when I'm watching TV, I'm doing a lot of scrolling on my phone. So a lot of times I am just listening to it with the music, the background noise. So I think that's such a cool idea. And now I'm really, and now I got something to do when I'm thinking about how I had to pay lots of taxes this year, which is always exciting. Uh, the life of an indie author. But I like, so as you said in your introduction, you're a former judge, former litigator. How much of that goes into your writing? Like, do you find you have stories from many years on the bench and in courtrooms, and does that put a lot of inspiration in your life, or is it really just all imagination?
Both.
Yeah.
When I first started writing, Nicole, I kept the two separate.
Mm,
I didn't, because I was still on the bench, and I didn't want anybody to be influenced, one way or the
sure.
other. So I had my first short story called Legal Magic. That one did have, and it's in the book, that one did have a young lawyer, a not so good young lawyer. And it had some funny things, like, for example, a judge who one day when I was in a courtroom, I looked up and the voice of God is coming down. Was going in for back surgery and didn't want his docket to get messed up. So he was lying down behind the bench, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I haven't used the lawyer and judge factors in very many things yet. A funny thing, I listened to a panel many years ago, or a few years ago, and Elaine Viets was on it
Oh
as,
yeah.
um, oh, I just went blank. She's a doctor. She writes Minuet in G and some of these other books.
Um,
You
yeah.
know who.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about too.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
same.
what their point was, Elaine was now writing the Richmond, fire stories, and the fire investigator, which dealt with somebody who'd had a massive stroke.
Oh,
She hadn't been able to write about her stroke for like 8 years, but
wow.
she did it all into that first book in that series. The other author said that she hadn't been able to write about medicine for 6, 7 years and was just beginning to put that into stories.
Wow.
I now am just beginning to put law into things I'm doing. And I
Okay.
had another reason, if I may tell you a quick funny story.
Yeah.
When I was on the bench, I as I said, tried to keep things separate. But you can imagine being on the bench so many years, I had the lawyers trained.
Yeah.
At the end of the hearing, I would go, is there anything more? And, you got to picture me black sitting above you. And the lawyer would go, no, Your Honor. And I'd do a standard closing.
Yeah.
On this particular day, I had an excellent lawyer, somebody I'd known from my litigation days in front of me. I said, is there anything further? He said no, but his client said yes, there is, Your Honor. I looked at the lawyer.
Yeah.
A good lawyer can control his client. This one went, so I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah.
So I looked at the client and I said, yes, sir, what is it? He goes, Your Honor, I just want you to know one thing. No matter how you rule, I'm going to buy your book.
Oh.
I'm sure he didn't buy it because I
He was
ruled
in
against
jail.
him.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's in jail. But hey, maybe there's a library in the prison system. You never know. You
But
never know.
that's the night I went home and said to my husband,
I'm all set.
I said, we need to run the numbers. I
Yeah.
have a lifetime appointment, but I really want to follow my passion.
And where was that? Where were you judging for
I
less?
was a federal administrative law judge in
Okay.
Birmingham, Alabama, which
Okay.
is where I live.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at that because I love the dichotomy of your life essentially, which is, grew up in the East Coast,
Mhm.
Jersey, and then went to school in Michigan and now ended up. How did you end up in Alabama? Was it the judgeship or
No,
what?
it was an accident.
Okay.
Um, okay, I'm going to be perfectly honest. There's lots of folks out there who got in. Harvard wouldn't take me for law school. They
Hmm.
took the woman who lived across from me, and she never did anything with her degree. Anyway,
And if you're
um,
listening, so there.
well, that was a motivation.
Yeah.
Okay. I left college early. You may or may not know this. I left it in December of the year, so I only stayed for 3.5 years in Michigan. And at that point, I had two goals. I wanted to get a job in publishing, and I wanted to get on Jeopardy. So I went to New York 2 days later. And when you're 17 to
Yeah.
18, you think you can do anything.
Anything. Yeah.
So I started interviewing, and just in case things didn't work out, by night I typed law school applications.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was
Law school is your
December.
backup plan.
That was my backup plan.
Awesome.
Okay. By April, I knew Harvard wasn't taking me, but I said, okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at who's giving me money.
Hmm.
I got on a plane, and by that point, let me preface this, I had accomplished my two goals. I
Okay.
had a job and realized it's going to take a long time to move up in publishing. And I had the other goal accomplished as well. So I said, okay, I'm getting on this plane. And it was snowing when I left the East Coast. It was snowing when I got to Pennsylvania. It was snowing when I got to the next place. It was snowing harder when I got to the third place. And then I flew into Atlanta for Emory,
Mm.
never having been in the South. I looked out the window and it was gorgeous. There were flowers. The clay and the land was as red as Margaret Mitchell had written. And as an English major, I'm
Yeah.
going, and I'm looking out my window. I didn't don't know it was the day after one of the tornado things, so
Oh,
everything was clean and perfect.
everybody else is like, we don't want to be here because everything's destroyed. And you're like, this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen.
And I figured as long as I graduated well,
Hmm.
I would get a job. So I decided to spend 3 years in Atlanta. And I was having fun going, oh, it's 70 degrees and you have 7 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Um, I took my first job doing international tax for General Motors. And I discovered two things. I hated tax,
Same.
but more importantly, I hated the 36 to 38 inches of snow we had that winter.
Oh, wow.
So I said, I'm going to change to doing law that's more for the people.
Yeah.
And in those days, if you went to a big corp, you were fine. If you went to government, you could get out after 2 years to go to a big corp. But if you went to a corporation, you had to cleanse yourself.
Hmm.
Did that by doing a couple of years with the government. So I was looking for the Department of Labor
Yep.
in Atlanta, which was
Oh.
the main office. Well, they didn't have an opening, but their Birmingham office did.
Oh, wow.
So I was told, would I fly down and interview? I said, sure.
Yeah.
I'm going Birmingham,
I know.
Alabama.
Like you would like, because there's connotations, let's be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Historical connotation.
100%.
I fly down and I walk into this office There are five men sitting there to interview me. They are all, now you have to picture, I'm 24.
Yeah.
They're all my parents' age, 50 or better. Okay. And I'm looking at these guys and I realize I can do almost anything because they cover three states. These guys aren't going to care if this young whippersnapper goes on any case she wants.
Right.
So, and I knew by the end of the interview, as long as I didn't throw up on my shirt, I
Yeah,
had the
right.
job.
As long as you didn't insult them to their faces, you're probably fine.
Anyway, I took the job thinking it would be 2 years. I got lucky. I got into a case of first impression, which is a case that had not been decided in the country on equal pay for higher education.
That's awesome.
They were doing the test case in Memphis. We were doing our case by accident in Plains, Georgia. And, because, anyway, they lost the Memphis case. We won, and ours was the one that's still good law.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
But
amazing.
2 years became five, Nicole, because I was writing on it, I was
Yeah.
lecturing on it, and then I really was ready to go. And somebody says, I need you to meet my cousin. And well, he was a Birmingham boy.
Oh, so you married an Alabaman,
Married in Alabama.
and then you've been there ever since.
Yes.
Wow. That's a meet cute if I ever heard a meet cute of a rom-com. Like, oh, I was just gonna be there for it's like a Hallmark movie. Like, I was only gonna be in the South for 2 years and 5 years, and then I met somebody and now here I am. Like that's
That's
cute.
that's
He,
literally what
he
happened.
was not a lawyer.
No, he was not. He was in a family business and then he became a stockbroker. And
Right.
he
Okay.
he was very, that was where he had graduated from Alabama with that degree, but the family business paid more.
Sure.
And then later he decided he'd really rather do what he liked.
Yeah, might as well. And I mean, as I have March Madness on right now, Alabama's a good school in sports, so I know they're getting money somehow.
Well, we were a mixed marriage. He was Alabama, I was Michigan. So
Oh,
you
that's
can
right.
imagine some of
Both,
our,
but
uh,
both are in the Sweet
yeah,
16. So
they're,
congratulations. My
thank you.
college isn't even in it. Well, because they're D3, so it wasn't. They wouldn't have
Sorry.
D2. I don't know. I don't know what they're. They're in the. They just won. I talked about it yesterday. Is that they just played ice hockey and they made it to the Frozen Four. So I mean, so ice hockey something. Speaking of northern sports, um, but I liked how I just liked reading your bio because it's fascinating to go from corporate to government to civic duties and then to a judgeship. So I just think I love this is why I love this podcast. A, because I get to yap, which I like to yap. So like that's fun. B, because I meet so many cool people who have these great stories and their lives are just amazing. So I love that. What I do want to talk about, we kind of touched on it, that you have the Sarah Blair mysteries, which is 5 cozy mysteries
Mhm.
currently. Plans for more? Continuing writing?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Right now, this Kensington has ended the series.
Okay.
If it gets picked up or if I do it independent, that's still up in the air.
Gotcha.
I
Um,
help Sarah.
yeah, and I love the progression of Sarah through these books because I was reading about all 5 of them. And I also love the fact she's not your typical cozy character. She's a divorcee with a cheating husband with a dead husband, and mistress. The mistress was around and stuff like that. And I just think that's one of those. Yes, she has a cat. She ends up with a dog. Like the cozy tropes are there,
Mhm.
but she's kind of an atypical because usually it's like a 30 something who's living the and I'm reading Ellen Byron's Bayou Book Thief
Yeah.
right now, and it's a similar situation where she's a widowed woman, and I just think I like that. How did that character come about, and how did Kensington come to you? Did you write the book first? How did that all happen?
Okay, it happened two ways. I told you I was orphaned the second time on
Mhm.
poker. At that point, I was up in arms. What should I do?
Yeah.
And I wanted to continue writing. Those were more traditional mysteries with
Right.
cozy elements. I wanted to write a cozy because I really liked those. That's what I read the most. And so I said, okay, I can write small town trope. I can throw in a cat. Okay, trope. I can throw in a dog if I have to because I like dogs. I'm more of a dog person. Okay, there goes the trope. I can write an amateur something or other. And I said, oh, but wait a minute. I don't like to cook.
Hmm.
Don't like crafts.
Same.
So I said, okay, I'm up a creek. And then it dawned on me, just like you said, Nicole, there are other people out there like me. So I made her um, a woman who finds being in the kitchen more frightening than murder.
Hmm.
In other words, I drew on myself. I mean, when Joe and I were engaged to be married, they gave me a kitchen shower, and it was called "Can She Identify What's in the Box?"
I love that so
And one
much.
of, and one of the things they gave me, which I put in the book, is there was somebody who'd been at all the showers, the cousin who had introduced us. I opened the box. There are the most beautiful floral paper plates and napkins. I hold them up, and the person over my left shoulder, somebody else goes, "Oh, look, she got her good china."
You know what? I feel like we're the same person because that would be me. I know I should be better for the environment, but I'll love a good paper plate because why dirty a dish if I don't have to?
But that is how Sarah came to be.
I
I
got
gave her a twin sister because I am the mother of twins.
you.
But I gave her a twin sister who is a culinary expert. But that's why I could get into restaurants. But to be honest with you, in order for these books to work, I had to go interview restaurateurs. And since
Yeah.
I eat out so much, I know a lot of them.
Yeah, right.
Birmingham is a very foodie town.
Yeah.
Um, I was able to interview really good restaurants and some not so good and get all the info.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's what I used in the books. To me, they were fun to write.
That's
Uh,
and that's sort of I like that. I feel like there's a lot more of us out there who are like we love a cozy, but we don't necessarily see ourselves in the cozy. And that's like with yours, where she doesn't like to really cook. Well, she doesn't cook. She has baggage. And that's why I wrote the baseball mysteries because I'm like, I don't see any sporty books. And like I said, I have March Madness on TV right now on mute. Like I just, it's always, and I have a freaking Celtics mug. Like, I mean, I love that this era of mystery writing opens itself up to unique, um, maybe not at the traditional five, the big five, maybe not at Kensington because Kensington's Kensington, but there is such an opportunity for people to write what they want to see themselves, but still have that cozy. I have cats in mine, check.
well, I
Small
wrote
town,
that book
check.
because that was what felt good
Yeah,
and figured, let's see what happens.
yeah,
And it was proposed to Kensington. They read it and quickly accepted it.
that's awesome. And I was just reading before we started talking on Amazon the new collection of short stories,
Mhm.
all good reviews, all great, really thought provoking reviews, which I thought was really awesome, and all 5 stars. So, guys,
Yeah.
if you're into short stories, like go pick it up because apparently she's showing she's a pro at this YouTube thing.
I'm
Pro.
learning. I'm learning.
I'm like I'm still a mess at YouTube, but I'm like yeah, she's a pro. But again, back to the Sarah Blair. As of
Mhm.
now, it's the fifth book was the final book. Do you kind of know where she is in her life after that? So if it came down to it, you could pick it up.
Oh yes, I knew where she was going. I had just I had looked at some different ideas. I had because at this point, she was moving forward from being that, as you
Mm,
said, married at 18, divorced at 28, and then she had been involved in different, crimes, solving them, not really wanting to, but
yeah,
doing so. At this point, I was going to be bringing in, because I like to bring in all the characters,
yeah,
I have a community foraging dinner because I thought that could be funny.
yeah,
I was going to have her develop more because where there's a romance that does get fulfilled in the book, I hadn't filled her yet. I had her playing in different roles. And that was one thing that I always felt badly about it. Not that she needed to find somebody, but the readers had different views of who she should end up with at some point.
hmm,
And I would like to have developed that more.
yeah,
Plus, I was having fun with her just in general.
sure,
And then some of the sub characters were fun, like
yeah,
her mother, Mother Maybell. Um, she can tell you bless your heart with such a great face on her.
Yeah.
You
That
don't even
cutting, that
know even where to go.
the
Mhm.
behind the scenes tone of Bless Your Heart is always my favorite thing about people from the South. Like, I know what you mean. Like, I get it. You know, in New England, there's a few F bombs involved, but like in the South, it's very Bless Your Heart. And that's so fun to say, even as a
Well,
non Southerner.
so that's why the fifth book was so much fun. Five Bells Too Many, because it's Belles.
Yep.
And the beauty of it was I love game shows, as obviously. And so I took one of those would-be wedding shows,
Yeah,
and I had five couples trying to win the perfect Southern wedding.
that's
Um,
awesome.
but it wasn't Sarah winning, it's her mother, because every demographic must have an older couple trying to win too.
Yeah, and probably the best couple, to be honest. Like they mean it at that point.
Well, they didn't really want to win, but they sure wanted to be part of the TV show.
Yeah.
And but some of the behind the scenes stuff, it was so much fun to write.
Yeah. Did you for that, did you what was the research like? Was it literally just binging love shows?
What was that? It was having been on Jeopardy and
Yeah,
knowing the background of that and knowing how it wasn't as clean cut as one would
sure.
think. And then it was also having attended a lot of tapings of shows
Hmm.
when I was younger. So taking all that together and talking to people, I stole background stuff.
No, borrowed. You didn't steal it, you borrowed it. Weird coincidence, but you are the second person on the podcast who's been on Jeopardy, which
Mhm.
is bananas because like I mean, I play it obviously when I'm watching it, and I'm like, I could get everything. I don't think I would get everything. Now, if it was the pop culture Jeopardy, I'd be like, yes, give me some reality tea, and I would be all in that. But what was that experience like? When were you on it? Spoiler alert, did you win? That kind of stuff.
No, I tell the truth. I was on it on a September 6th date, the weekend before I went. I showed into it just before I went to law school.
Oh wow,
8 months before,
sure.
because they taped 5 shows a day in those days. Um, I lost to a guy who became a 5-day winner at the time. That's when he went. But we were neck and neck through
Yeah.
it, and I blew the final question.
Oh, do you remember the final question?
Yeah, friend of Richard the Lionheart, and I think I gave Henry the Eighth's friend is the answer, Duke of Cromwell. So
Oh,
I messed it up. But
damn.
and the thing was, I could see in my mind if
Yeah.
they'd just done it as a movie, I could see Richard Burton, and I knew
Yeah, right.
him for
Image.
all seasons,
You're
and
like,
I
can
could
I
think
just
of him.
draw him? Because I know what he looks like in the movie.
I knew the movie, I knew who played each
Yeah.
role, and I could not remember what the
Oh,
name of the character was. But there's lots of, as you said, lots of writers have been on Jeopardy. The only one who won quite a bit is Meg Gardner. I believe
okay.
she became a true champion, and her daughter has been on now a generation later.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The other author is Dale Phillips, who writes, he's a indie author up here in New England. He has like 30 books out or something. Like he's also a dual threat with the long form and short form. So it's funny, but yeah, that's one of his big things on his bio is, oh, and I was on Jeopardy. There's a
Oh,
lot
it's
of Dale
it's your
Phillips,
claim
but
to
I'm the
fame because
only,
you
yeah.
go through such a process. When I did it, you had to come into New York at the time.
Okay.
Now they do it on computer, okay?
Um,
You came into a big room and they couldn't even do this today. They took your picture.
okay.
They would take like 5 of us and then they cut the Polaroid picture and put it on your application.
Oh, jeez.
And you had an application you filled out, and then they'd have play fake games with you. Like they'd say blue, and they would look to, first I was told be near the front, which I did. Anything they ask, raise your hand and ask some stupid question, take the answer and make it into a question.
Yeah.
Um, and then they said, okay, now we're going to go around the room in case, so they said blue. So they said, Nicole, question with blue. That's the answer. So come up with something.
Oh, what color is the ocean?
Okay, what color is the ocean? What color is the sky? Well, I was lucky. I was one of the first ones, so I had a question. By the time they got to the seventh
Oh
or
my
eighth
God.
question, I felt so sorry for her.
Because you're like, "Bah," they probably want some like funny answer. And you're like, I don't even know what way is up right now.
And that's so they kept changing it. And then they had us play a game. We had one of those scan things that mark your answers.
Yeah.
But there was no way you could have answered all 50. They were flipping up answers in front
Yeah.
of you. but like Final Jeopardy, and you would
Yeah.
write the question. But they ran like 25 to 50 of these things real fast. No way could you have answered it. And, I know it is. And so when it ended, I realized this is just to see where we are
Yeah.
because they watched us because the guy next to me was panicked. He goes, I can't remember the opera with the elephant. Ada. Um, the other guy's going, I mean, it was hilarious. And but you realize just stay calm.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, they're back in the room. There's no way they graded
It's
us.
all because they want to see
See our reactions.
reactions, right?
And they came back and then they said, there are four of you. We have a problem with your application. Would you please stay? And I was one of the four they named. And we're all now we're
Well,
nervous.
right. Like, what do you mean? Like, am I wanted for murder? Like, what are we doing here?
Did I misspell my name?
Yeah, right.
I get up there and they wait till the whole room is emptied and they look at us and they go, okay, you're the only four who made it.
That's sneaky. I like it.
And then they had us come. They took the lady from California because she was there for all week, so they taped
Right.
her that week. They put me on a phone call since I was local enough that I could come in, for a
Yeah,
day.
whatever. Yeah.
They gave me a call, and I had to go in for a rehearsal.
Oh,
And I don't know if they still do that, but but they taped us
to like
just to
block.
see how we would do,
Right.
and it was fine. And then they called like 2 weeks later and said, "Okay, now's your taping day. Bring an extra dress."
In
And I
case
looked.
then.
Case you win, they always, women and viewers notice what a woman is wearing.
Yep.
A man can change his
Oh,
tie or take it off and they don't know what he's
no,
wearing.
100%. Because that was always my big argument. Not my argument, but it's one of the things I noticed the most on Great British Bake Off is because they're always wearing the same outfit all 3 days. And you're like, but it's a different day. I know it's a different day. And they're wearing the same clothes. Yeah. Nobody else notices, but like I notice. So I'm
Mhm.
like, wait. And speaking of New York, going to New York for tapings, I like to go for like Live with Kelly and Mark and all those shows. And I've now noticed that I noticed the outfits. So one of the episodes that they taped while I was there was one of our, me and the girl next to me were like, oh my God, I love when she wears this dress. This is our favorite dress. And I'm like, why do I have a favorite dress for my, but I like that they rewear things. But yeah, no, yeah, that's interesting how
Mhm.
that works. And we are getting close to the end. We have about 6 minutes. So I want to make
Oh,
sure we get to book recommendations because you
okay.
probably have, as a Sisters in Crime board member, former president, all that good stuff. You probably read a lot.
I
Um,
do.
so yeah, what are you reading now? What do you like? What inspired you? All that good stuff.
Well, I'm about to start a Joanna Slan book because I'm going to be moderating a panel at Malice.
Oh, good.
I'm moderating the influencer and cozy mystery panel.
Oh, cool.
And she's one of them. And I always believe that a moderator should be like the background
Yep.
of something, but I should read some of their books so I can speak intelligently
There.
if they have books. And two of them, Drew and she have written things, and I've read the short stories. But you asked me some books I've enjoyed lately. I really enjoyed Deanna Raybourne's Killers of a Certain Age.
Yes.
And she has a new one that's just come out that I'm looking forward to reading. And then one of my favorite cozy authors is Valerie Burns, who writes under several names. If I had to recommend, her Baker Street is under Valerie Burns, and two part sugar, one part murder. It's a culinary mystery, but it's a social media
Yep.
person who has inherited a bakery and a 200-pound English Mastiff. Oh, you got some of hers. Okay.
Right there.
But you know what my favorite, let's see if you can pull this one. My favorite ones are the ones she writes under VM Burns for Kensington. It's the mystery bookshop
I
ones.
don't have
If
those.
you haven't read those, that is the one I would recommend highly. There's
Okay.
already 10 books in the series.
Wow.
The first is The Plot is Murder. The next is the next reading chapter, I think is the last one. What I really love about those, it's a woman who owns a bookshop and she's always wanted to be a writer. So in the books, Valerie writes two books within the book. She has the mystery that's dealing with her character, Sam, and the sidekicks are hilarious
Yeah.
in that book. Okay. But she also, when she gets time, writes her English Gilded Mystery. So
Oh,
the history from that period comes in, and as you're reading it, it advances both plots.
yeah.
So delicately
Oh my
worked
God.
that I find that one of the best cozy series. But Baker Street's good. Mystery Bookshop is my personal favorite.
I just started that because that the bookshop one because that's I love to read cozies, but I love historical mysteries, and so the fact that it combines the two is like
It,
right up my alley now.
it's so well done because
Okay,
she'll say, "Well, Samantha says, well, I have a few minutes,"
yeah,
and then and this whole thing, and you don't know which story you really rather be reading at that
I can't
moment.
wait. Where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, which is https,
Yeah,
slash
all
slash
that stuff,
www. Debra, Debra, Goldstein,
and I'll put the link below so people can
.com. You can find me on
all the
Twitter, Blue Sky, BookBub, Facebook. There's both a personal and a author
which all
page.
of us have. Yeah.
Anything you can think of, I'm on practically. And you can always find me any of your favorite bookstores that you would like to buy me at.
Always good. And you mentioned Malice. I will also be at Malice, so I'm gonna
Good. I'll
say
look for you.
hi. I'm gonna try to. What I'm gonna try to do is send out a notice to all the people that I've interviewed and try to maybe do like a 10-minute meetup or something at the bar. Not at the bar because I don't drink, but like near the bar as everybody hangs out during the day, so we can have like a little baseball books and banter reunion.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I love Malice. That's going to be a fun one. I'm not on a panel this year, which is a kind of a bummer, but it is also kind of a blessing because now I can go to all the panels that I want to go to, and you'll meet my dad because my dad comes with me on Saturdays. So
Oh, good. I heard he had a recent birthday.
he did. His is actually the 28th. My brother's was the 3rd. So March babies abound in this.
Mhm.
And his stepkids had a birthday this weekend. So yeah, everybody in my life has a March or a February birthday, and then I was the fall baby in September, which is probably why I like to live up here because fall. It's a
Mhm.
fall thing. But I want to thank you again so much for joining. This was so cool, and the Jeopardy story alone is going to keep me buzzing for like a day. I can't wait to, I'm going to like Google it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I love your podcast. I watch it periodically.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I loved her. She was so fun. She was, I think I mentioned it during the interview. We had a Sisters in Crime town hall because, for those that know, I'm now the vice president of Sisters in Crime New England. I don't know how that happened, but I'm really trying to embrace the role and do what I can to help our chapter grow. And she was one of the moderators of our breakout room. And she was very, she could tell she definitely had some of that type A in her personality to be a judge, a litigator, because she kept us on track. Because we're very, uh, we can us writers can tend to be effusive and talk a lot, so it was nice. um, so go pick up her books, go get her newest short story collection, which is getting rave reviews on Goodreads and Amazon, and hopefully we'll get more Sarah Blair mysteries. We'll see what happens. um, I did, one of her book recommendations was The Plot is Murder by Valerie Burns, and I did pick it up, and it just came and it's sitting on my nightstand right now. So I'm really excited. I don't know, my cat is looking at something and now I'm nervous. What do you, is it a ghost? Is it Mom, the ghost? I went to a medium and she said that Captain, the new cat, can see ghosts, and she is looking at a lot of stuff. So Mom, if you're listening, love you. Today's my dad's 70th, or yesterday was my dad's 70th birthday. So happy birthday to Rob Aslan. But enough about that. Let's talk about what you really came for after the books, of course. The Red Sox. So since we recorded Debra's interview, the season officially started. Granted, there were 2 games in Japan. I was up. I watched them both at 6 in the morning because I love a little morning baseball before while I'm working. But I don't think most people knew that it happened, so it was kind of not really the season. So on April, what month are we in? March 27th, the season officially started. Kind of a bummer it didn't start till 4 o'clock that day because I was ready for a lot of baseball, but that's okay. Red Sox are down in Texas for 4 games. They won the first game, which was exciting, with my guy Willier Abreu, whom I love. He's just adorable. His wife just had twins, so they call it twin power. Um, and he had another good game yesterday, which they lost. So we're 1-1. The track for 161-1 is still on. We're still going to go for it. Tonight's a 7 o'clock game. Um, one thing I'm worried about, and I don't want to be because I love him, is Rafael Devers. He has looked not great at the plate. He also looks slow and he's mistiming pitches. So I'm hoping he didn't have a big spring. So I'm hoping he's kind of just ramping his way into the season. And I really want him to do well because I really don't want to hear Boston radio talk about, oh, he's a malcontent, this. And because the thing I'm really annoyed with this season is we signed Aroldis Chapman, and I've talked about him on the podcast before. He just seems like a horrible human being, and they're trying so hard to make him likable on the radio broadcast and on the Nesson broadcast. Oh, he's changed and he's a great teammate and he does this. I'm like, yeah, but he also beat up, I think it was his mother, and also maybe a girlfriend. So like, not a great guy and has never really expressed remorse for anything. So he's the only one that I'm cheering on the team to fail. Granted, Alex Bregman, I never liked him when he was at the Astros. I thought he was a punk during the whole trash can situation. But he's one I can almost kind of bring myself to root for because he seemed like a good teammate. He bought a bunch of the young guys fancy suits during spring training, and I don't know. I'm still on the fence about him. He's also not having a great opening 2 games. It is only 2 games, so I'm not gonna be that panic person, but like, let's get it together, guys. The Celtics, I mean, I don't even have to talk about them because they're so good. They just do what they do. And then they're just fun. And I think they're playing again tonight. So tonight's kind of a rough night for me. This is Saturday, the 29th. Red Sox are at 7. March Madness games are happening, which I don't really care about because my bracket's like amazingly busted. The Bruins and the Celtics are on at 8. So like, I have to pick and choose. Obviously, Red Sox are number 1 on my list, so Will Fleming and Will Middlebrooks are going to get my ears tonight while I try to fall asleep. But yeah, the Bruins are on a downward swing, but hockey is still so fun to watch. And Morgan Geeky, my guy, my mom's guy, I love him and I want him to do well. So we're gonna temper our expectations. I do think the Red Sox will be better than last year. I think a lot of people are going too hard in the opposite direction of they're going to win the World Series, and I'm not there yet. It is only 2 games in. Take a breath, guys. Take a breath. So I thought I would do something a little different today. Last week I showed you my Kindle books. So this week I'm going to show you the books I'm reading that I picked up from the library this week. One of which you'll be familiar with if you listen to the podcast. It's The Accidental Joe, which Elizabeth Crowens recommended. So I haven't popped into that one yet. I have to renew them because I've been behind. I'm also reading, I'm going to get it. Talk amongst yourself. I'll be right there. It's right on my couch. I just have to come back and get it. Okay, here we go. This one I'm currently in. It's Murder in Highbury, which is Vanessa Kelly. It's the character is Emma from Jane Austen's Emma. So it's really kind of a fun, because for those that know Emma the book, it's a little irreverent. She's kind of a not a flighty character. That's not the word I want, but she's very assured of herself, very confident. And it's kind of fun to watch her. This is after she marries George Knightley. So it's a little romantic, very cozy. Love it so much. Another one I picked up is I Died for Beauty by Amanda Flower. It's the third, I think, third book in her Emily Dickinson's mysteries. As you know, Emily Dickinson, very much in Massachusetts. It's a fun series. I like a series, and I've talked about this before, where the main character or one of the characters is kind of well known, and then it follows like another person in her life, and this one's happens to be her servant, lady's maid, however you want to describe it, companion. And then that's 4 books, and I'm out of breath from just walking to the couch. This is what happens when you get old and lose and you gain weight. It's Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. I've read the first 2, and it's just cute. It's like a cozy fantasy. A woman who, I mean, what does it say there? So the first book was, let me tell you what the first book was. It was about the fairies, Encyclopedia of Fairies. Then the second one was Map of the Other Lands. And so it's just fun to have a little cozy fantasy in your life with a little research. So those are what I'm reading library book wise. Book 3, stay tuned. The official announcement that I'm a level bestie came out in their newsletter this week. So that was exciting because I didn't want to say anything until I knew it was like officially official. So Daphne Silver, Lauren Silverman reached out and she's like, "What? You're one of us." And I was like, "I'm one of you." And I'm very excited about that. So I will let you know as soon as I know anything. Coming up, a lot of events coming up. April 12th, the Weymouth Libraries. I'm going to update my website later today, so you'll have all my info. But the Weymouth Libraries Book Fair, May 16th, the Brockton Rocks, and I just bought some new dresses, so you have to come see them if you want to see my baseball dresses. At their opening day block party with Rosie Peas. That's 5 to 7, and the game's at 7, and I have tickets if you want to come. May 30th, I just scheduled at the new bookstore at Kingston Collection called Mother Crew Books and Cafe, I think, or something like that. I'll post it more. It's a spinoff of their artisan store. It's now going to be new, used, and local books. So I'll be there May 30th. I'll be at Malice Domestic at the end of April for those that are around and want to get a drink. No panels, so I'm wide open on schedule. And that's it for now. Hopefully, I'll have more info for you on the book. And until that day, now that we're really in baseball season, go Red Sox and happy reading.